The following is a presentation of the Matt Talk Podcast Network.
And welcome, wrestling fans, to the Ice Hour. This podcast is aimed at promoting the world of Division III college wrestling and is named for the late Hall of Fame coach Dave Eisenhower. Here we'll talk about topics and news that's relevant to those who compete for the love of the sport in Division III. The Ice Hour is sponsored by My House Sports Gear. Check out their line of wrestling gear and apparel at myhousesportsgear.com. Subscribe using your favorite podcasting app by going to matttalkonline.com/ice. Episode 14 of the Ice Hour D3 Wrestling Podcast, proudly sponsored by My House Sports Gear at myhousesportsgear.com. Today, we're again talking about the growth of Division III wrestling and two guys that are part of that growing trend of new programs adding the sport of wrestling. First is Coach Scott Legacy, the head coach at Castleton University up in Castleton, Vermont. And the second, Tommy Owen, the newly appointed head coach at Averett University in Danville, Virginia. It's not Danville, folks. It's Danville. And when you're from Virginia, you know that. First of all, Coach Legacy, we'll throw the mic to you first. Welcome to the program, and glad to have you coaching in Division III.
Well, thank you, Jason, for having me, and I'm honored to be on the same show with Tommy Owen. So let's let it roll.
Tommy, yeah, how do you? I mean, he's already being nice to you. We haven't even started the program. This is good stuff, right?
Yeah, that's tough to follow that, but I appreciate it, and I look forward to it.
Now, just to give the folks back home or listening at home some background here, Castleton in its first year as a program wrestling this year. Averett will not be starting until next year, but Tommy, you've already been hired as a head coach coming from Division I SIU, Edwardsville. Prior to that, a coach at George Mason University in Virginia. So a bit of not a true homecoming of sorts since you're not originally from Virginia, but you get the opportunity to get a jump start on next year's program. What have you done in just the matter of weeks since you're hiring to get your feet wet as your first Division III head coaching job?
Really just reaching out to everybody. I was really fortunate to, be able to work at George Mason before coming to Virginia. So, and then also, working with Bawa and, helping with some freestyle and Greco and going to Fargo and meeting coaches. And, so it's just rekindling those old flames and reaching out to people. And luckily I didn't ruin too many relationships, and people have been very supportive and, so yeah, just trying to get ahead of the game by reaching out to coaches, and going to have a lot of work to do this year.
Coach Legacy, being a longtime high school coach in Vermont, your teams at Mount Anthony Union were just, notoriously good. I believe the last count was 27 or how many state titles was it in a row? 27?
28.
28. Okay. 28. And, again, I'm not going to mention too much of this, but me and Coach Legacy, we go back, while not as a super relationship by any means, but my senior year, his high school team at Mount Anthony came down to the Virginia Duels, which is my wrestling club. And we wrestled Mount Anthony Union in the finals of the Virginia Duels. It was then known as the Top Gun Division. Now it's the American High School Division. And let's just say I liked the outcome of that particular match. I wasn't actually in that duel, but we liked our outcome. And then the next year, we never had a chance to make it back to them. But Coach Legacy's team came down to the Virginia Duel. So a long history of MAU wrestling, at least in my mind. But when we get to that, get past that moment and get past the fact that I'm still gloating a little bit about that victory, here it is. That was my senior year. My 20-year reunion's coming up next year. So 20 years, I should get over it, right?
No, that's a big win. That definitely was a big win against us. So I wasn't happy about it, but it was a big win.
And we'll talk about some of the members of that team that are actually close to you and on staff here. But you're coming from a position of being a high school coach, a very successful high school coach, a national high school coach of the year just recently by USA Today. And now you're going to have to sit there and recruit from coaches that were your rivals for such a long time. I mean, that's Tommy's talking about, making inroads and building bridges with coaches. You might have some bridges to mend over some of these rivalries over the years.
Well, it's actually been, I've always had good relationships, and when you're competitive and you enjoy being competitive and you treat it as a way of both teams getting better, the relationships have been pretty solid. So the recruiting process went really well. We we didn't really bring any kids on campus until I was done with coaching high school, which was in March. And we have 34 members on our team right now, and it's really been because of my relationship with high school coaches in the Northeast region, which includes New Jersey and some of Pennsylvania and all of New England and New York, obviously.
So how many kids from MAU came over?
We have 4 on the team.
Okay, so it's not as many as some might think automatically. They might think, okay, all your seniors are coming.
Well, we only had 3 seniors last year. So I left MAU in a pretty good spot. They returned 11 starters and 2 freshmen that won state titles. One of the seniors did come, and then the rest are all transfers. They came in from other places, which we got Zach Hale, who came from Anderson University. As you know, Anderson dropped their program last year. And unfortunately, that was a loss to wrestling, but it was Castleton's gain. Zach was a 3-time Division II national qualifier. So he's come to Castleton to finish his wrestling career under me.
Yeah, and he's had a couple good wins. I remember watching him at D2 National. I was like, wait, that's the... And every time I'd look it up, I was like, he went to Mount Anthony. Hey, do you know we beat that? No, yeah. I'm just, it always circles back to that moment. But I'm glad to hear Zach landed up there because when Anderson cut that program, you're right, it was a loss to wrestling, but it was a gain for you guys. And when you're coming into the situation, and Tommy's in the situation you were last year, when you come in slightly different in terms of being the high school coach, but how soon or how much do you have to try to build in a short time and be like, all right, I'm still a couple months away from even fully getting the school year rolling? I mean, how fast and furious were you working on recruiting?
So we started right away, like in January, with phone contacts. Being a high school coach, I was limited. I was not under NCAA rules allowed to talk to athletes at any of the events that I was coaching at. I obviously could watch them, and there were some athletes that I was able to see while I was coaching in high school that we landed, but everything was by phone, and it was fast and furious, as you said. Trying to get kids to give you verbals before May rolled around anyhow, and deposit time. So I think Tommy's in a good position being named right now, and he's well known, obviously. So he can kind of be a little bit more selective, and I wouldn't say he can take his time. He's got to get on it, but he knows that process already. So, but just having a couple extra months might help him get his feet underneath him, where everything for us was just rolling really quick. So.
Yeah, Tommy, your thoughts on the timeline? I mean, the announcement came of a new program, and they didn't wait very long to hire a head coach. And we've seen this in other sports where, all right, we're going to hire a coach, give him almost a year or so to really start before just going gung-ho. I know New England College up there has said, we're starting a wrestling program. Oh, yeah, we've got a coach. We're wrestling this year.
Yeah, I like the timeline. To be honest, it's timeline for my current job, really sucked is, you're in the just starting, in the middle of preseason when all this happened and the relationships are built. But, in terms of starting a program, I really think it's great. Ideally, if you could have a perfect world, maybe start in the summer so you can get into that fall recruiting period. But, right now I don't feel rushed, obviously. You're not going to take your time and sit around and wait for things to come to you. But, it's like the fall recruiting's kind of already over. So you just, got to start building the relationships with high school coaches. And, you have time. The high school season haven't even started yet. So, you have time to kind of, get out there and see what's going on and get a good feel for the campus and what you need to recruit. And so, yeah, I feel the timeline's really good just in terms of, the whole aspect of recruiting. And, it's like I haven't even been out there. Well, I went out there for my interview, so I haven't even been out there yet. And I'm actually leaving in the morning to go. But, I'm just excited to get out there and then kind of, once you get on campus, then you can see how fast you need to take it. And like Scott said, maybe be a little selective, but not too selective. But just kind of, get in the right niche where it's, like where he said he started in January and he's a high school coach. It's like, oh, we got to get kids right now. And, I don't have that, that anxious feeling of like, if I don't have 5 kids by December, I'm going to be in trouble. It's like, I really feel, comfortable and in a good spot with everything.
Now, spending time as a Division I assistant coach, the coaching profession, everybody wants to be a head coach. And the top of this profession is the Division I head coach, saying you don't have Olympic aspirations or anything like that. Like Zeke Jones actually left the Olympic perch to coach college. When the opportunity arose, when you're looking to become a head coach, how seriously were you considering Division III before this opportunity kind of started to be like, it was almost too good to pass up?
Probably zero. And this probably all started maybe last spring, where, got a couple of, Mike Moyer obviously was really influential in the decision and talking to me about the process. And, it's kind of a tough question to explain. My whole life, I've wanted to be a Division I head coach. That's what I worked for. Those were the opportunities that I had. And so that's what I was working for. And then at the end of the day, it just, the older I've gotten, and every year, it's been more about wrestling and helping wrestling, and wanting to make a difference in more ways than one. And that's probably last spring I started looking at Division II and Division III, and then all of a sudden, Averett University says, hey, we're starting wrestling, and it's a couple hours from my wife's family, and an hour from her grandparents' lake place, which I'm planning on spending every chance I get at. And it was just ended up being a perfect storm of, just when you're looking at a career change. I wouldn't say career change, but division change like that. It's just I couldn't ask for anything more. If it wasn't in that location, may not have been as interested. And when I went out there for my interview, it's like they have beautiful athletic facilities. It's in a nice area. It's close to a lot of things. Where a lot of schools that I looked at, their location was just out in the middle of nowhere, really small towns. And when I looked at the whole landscape of everything, I was like, this is a great place. And I've been in Virginia before, and that whole area. My wife and I talked about maybe going back there someday. Being in the just that little region area, because just like I said, with her family being there, and it worked out. So yeah, I'd say last spring, and then this summer really got serious, and then they called and I went on an interview and just kind of said that's for me.
Yeah, and Scott's not the only one that gets away with the relationship here that goes back to my high school. See, Tommy's wife, Jenny, is from Franklin, Virginia, not Franklin County in the southwest portion of the state, but Franklin, Virginia, known for its paper mill. And they were in my district. My high school's Franklin High and Pecos were in the same district when I was in high school. So it's like I can't escape these connections to the wonderful world of Division III wrestling. Now, Tommy, we know happy wife, happy life, especially in the world of a wrestling coach. Now, Coach Legacy, you've been doing this a long, long time as a high school coach, and geographically, people might assume that, okay, well, it's Vermont, you don't really have to move. It's not exactly a short distance between Bennington and Castleton. So is this going to involve a family move, or are you going to commute? How's this work for the whole family side of things?
Well, so when I got offered the job, they actually offered me a full-time position, but I'm still teaching high school at Mount Anthony. I've been doing this a long time, but I'm not close to the retirement years yet. So I got a few more years for that to be fully vested. But from my house where I live, it's about a 55-minute drive, which isn't too bad on Vermont roads. It's not like driving in the city. So, but it's been working out just fine. We're really equipped at our school. We're very fortunate. Castleton did offer me an opportunity to be a club for a year and give me a chance to recruit. I just chose to, at this stage of my career, if I was going to do it, to dive into it. And I kind of felt they were hoping that I could get 10 kids for the first year. So we tripled that and then some. And I got kind of fortunate. I mean, I don't think it's any coincidence that 6 of the wrestlers on my team, their dads were our high school coaches. So, it goes back to that relationship thing that you were talking about. But we're kind of fortunate. The university's worked very well with me. It's a very family-oriented university. It's in a small rural town, probably very similar to what Tom was talking about. But we're nestled right next to the New York State border. And we have for Division III, we have I think it's 4 full-time strength coaches and then 1 graduate assistant. So I have a strength coach working with our team year-round. So they did all the preseason conditioning and strength training, and even now during season we've tapered it down, but they're still working with them a couple times a week. So there's a lot of structure on campus for our kids in between academic, study halls and timetables and stuff like that. So it's been working out okay.
Now, speaking of that staff a little bit, we mentioned that team back in '97. One of the guys on that team was a guy named Steve Forrest. He was a freshman that year. Now, he's one of your assistant coaches, and he was a runner-up at the World Team Trials in Greco-Roman on the senior level. He's had a great senior level career. One of your most accomplished athletes to come out of there. And what's it going to be like to be coaching with him at the college level?
It's been great. Steve, when he retired from the Marines and wrestling and he came back home, he was volunteering with me at Mount Anthony, and he kept saying to me that he wanted to get to the next level. And then when this arose, I said, hey, I got an opportunity for you. But he's got so much experience on the international level and all the training that he had, done out in Colorado Springs over the years, and his experience traveling all over the world wrestling, and being on the ladder for a few years. And, I think he was an All-American on the USA level at least 3 or 4 years. So, and just the fact that, I've known him since he was a young kid and coached him through middle school and high school and then followed his career, and to have him come back, it's been a great relationship. It's really awesome. He's still in very good shape, and he's still a beast, so he jumps on the mat quite a bit. I just have to remind him that he's not over in Russia wrestling or something like that at times.
Yeah, and I think he won and just for the record, he beat Jared Herr 4-3 in that dual meet. I'm just going to keep referencing that as much as we can.
No, Dave.
Yeah, he won that match. So as we move forward back to your staff, looking at it, you wrestled Division III. Most of your staff wrestled Division III, including Joe Duca, who's an All-American at Ithaca. How much is that going to help you with understanding the world of Division III wrestling in New England, where there are just a ton of Division III opportunities?
So the transition is definitely, new. I have a lot of wrestlers on our team that have transferred in and everything, but having Joe Duca there, who was an All-American at one of the best Division III wrestling schools in the country, being out of Ithaca, and just bouncing questions off him and asking him if he has any input has been tremendous. And then again, Steve again has been around a lot of world-class athletes. So the three of us, are and then with my experience and just, I do realize the college season is much longer and that it's a grind and you kind of got to taper things a little bit differently than you do in high school. So, but so far, everybody says it's going pretty well. So, but I am very fortunate to have that experience around me at this point in time.
Tommy, you're in a different boat. This is your first foray into Division III, with the exception of maybe working with some of those coaches as we were talking about your relationship with the Virginia Wrestling Association and VAWAS. There's been coaches from Washington Lee. There's a regional training center down at Ferrum. So getting into this Division III, what do you know about Division III before coming into this crazy world? You understand there's some drama going on in Division III, right?
Not really. I just kind of stayed out of everything. I know very little about it, to be honest. Luckily I have, my college roommate, Matt Nagel, was at Concordia for, a handful of years. He, just went to North Dakota State, but, I would say I was talking to him and communicating with him throughout the whole thing. Speaking of Ferrum, Nate Yetzer, I reached out to him. Sam Barber, head coach at the Air Force, he's been a head coach at Division I, Division II, Division III, a wealth of knowledge. And, so luckily I've had good guidance from friends, and, I'm trying to catch up to speed here. I'm, playing the newbie card on everything and staying out of all the, good stuff, and just trying to, let it come as it goes.
So the drama you're referring to is probably the regional alignments.
Yeah, it's been a topic on this program for the last little bit. Yeah, it's been a topic.
Yeah, I understand. Like, some coaches aren't too pleased about it. Some are really happy about it, and I'm just really not. I'm too new to know what's going on.
Scott, do you have time to chime in on this? I mean, you this is something you're going to have to deal with this year.
Yeah, so I was actually at the National Wrestling Coaches Convention down in Florida, and I saw the realignments, and they seem to be fair, at least in our area, and then it bounced back to where I think the Northeast region was going to have 19 teams in it, and some other regions maybe 11 or 12 or whatever. But I'm kind of in Tommy's boat. I don't really feel that I have a voice at this particular time, and I'm in a position where I'm just trying to, make sure we're ready to compete and stuff like that. But looking at it seems that to try to get the regions to be equal with the same amount of teams would be the smart way to go, based on the fact that the number of qualifiers are equal across the board. I think each region gets 3 per weight. So, I do understand that. I guess it's the Midwest or whatever that, it was like 11 teams or something like that, but they're probably the strongest conference. They were battling over that also. So it's kind of like the Big Tens and Division I wrestling, the way I see it. But, I'm in Tommy's shoes here. I mean, I'm still trying to figure it all out, but it does look like there's going to be a little bit of adjustment made, and they may be going back to the proposal that we saw this summer, from what I'm understanding.
Yeah, we got a couple different things floating around. We'll wait to see how the committees work on it, because it's above all of our pay grades, I think, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I feel like you were baiting us into a tough
I'm
question.
just curious.
Like you wanted somebody to throw some fuel on fire and get in trouble right away.
Oh, I've got no shortage of Division III coaches that are going to do that on other programs. Yeah. I'm throwing Jeff Brees that bone on the Buena Vista show later this week.
Oh yeah, I could see Jeff really giving his opinion on that.
Now, as we talk about the structure of college programs, Tommy, you've coming from Division I, you've dealt with scholarships and you've dealt with money and financial aid, and it's in a little bit of a different situation. How difficult do you think it's going to be for you to adjust to be like, okay, well, we know we're not going to have any athletic scholarships, and to start working more closely with your financial aid department, be like, okay, how does this Division III stuff work with academic money and getting kids in? Because a lot of these are private colleges. Their sticker price is pretty pricey, but you work through the financial department, and all of a sudden, it's pretty competitive with the state schools. I mean, this is something that's going to be a trial by fire here.
Yeah, it is, and I think that's something I'm excited about. Luckily, I would say, being at George Mason, probably it's the closest thing that I could say that would help for that. Boise State was fully funded. Southern Illinois is really close to fully funded. With the academic money that we, kids can accept, we're pretty much at equivalency. So there hasn't been the struggle there. Now at George Mason, when the sticker price is really high, and with just a few scholarships, we had to work really hard to on the money side of things, and I would say that I have to use a little bit of that, and just be ears open, get to know the people in the admissions and financial aid, and it's just a challenge that I'm fully accepting, and I'm excited about that part of things. Is and I understand it's going to be really tough. I'm not putting the blinders on saying, oh, this is going to be easy. It's that is going to be really tough, because you have Division II programs opening up and starting, and Division I. It's when you're the only level of college, including junior college NAIA, that can offer scholarships. That's not easy, and so it's going to be a learning process. But it's something I just think you got to sit down and be smart about it, and calculate, and get to know everybody at the school, and learn how to get it done. But yeah, super excited about it, and a little nervous at the same time.
Coach, what's your experience been like? Okay, excuse me, Coach Legacy. I realize I got two of you on the call. What's your experience been like this?
So, basically when I got hired, one of the very first things I did was, meet everybody in admissions and, figure out, what you and Tommy were just talking about, like, how do we calculate this? How does it work? who's eligible for academic money, who's eligible for, if they do well on their SATs and things like that. So, again, we're kind of fortunate at Castleton where we do have an admissions officer that works with athletics directly. And, we have a pipeline that's a little bit quicker for us. So, and we can get answers. So to this point, it's been extremely good. I mean, I think that you're really looking for the kid that's more of a student athlete and, has done well in high school and somewhere around a 3.0 because on the Division III level, at least at our school, if you're up in that, on that Mendoza line, you're going to do okay with academic aid. We are a university, but we are still a state school. So for in-state kids, it's a pretty good deal. For out-of-state, you're looking for the kid that's done well academically in high school. And that makes you kind of competitive with the, Division II schools. And it definitely does make you competitive with Division I because my experience with kids that are getting recruited by Division I, they're splitting a lot of packages up and stuff like that and really making kids earn it. So you can kind of be competitive with tuition if it's done right.
Now, speaking of the competitive nature, there are a ton of Division IIIs up in the New England area, as we've seen, and we're seeing new programs added. And then, Tommy, in your situation at Averett, there's been new programs added in Virginia, especially. We've got new programs at Ferrum. Southern Virginia is now fully Division III eligible for a championship program. Washington Lee's up the road. Hampton-Sydney just added a couple years ago. So you both have competition for these athletes. And Coach Legacy, having been in that area for so long and being in Vermont and seeing kind of up close what Castleton has grown from, how difficult is it for you to kind of recruit against these schools that you've been sending kids to over the years and be like, all right, well, I'm here now. Hey, yeah, come back here. Come over here.
I don't want this to sound, like cocky or anything, but I mean, it hasn't really been that difficult. The coaches in general, the New England college coaches have been very welcoming to me, and offered help and things like that. And I think they're really excited to have the addition of schools. It's only going to make the New England region tougher. So I think we have 16 colleges in New England now. So as far as getting back to competing against them, I mean, they've kind of said I've been a nightmare to them. So because we were going head to head with some of the better New England schools, for a few kids, and some of them we lost, and there was some we won. So which was pretty amazing for it being our first year. And I'm not so sure how many colleges Tommy has around him down there. I don't know. New England's not a huge area, so most of these schools are within at least 3 hours of us. 3.5 hours. So 16 colleges. And we're a fairly tight knit community. I knew that when I was coaching high school. So it's been fun and very competitive. But again, I can't say that one New England college coach has done anything but open their arms up, and say, hey, if there's any help you need or whatever, let me know.
Yeah, and Tommy, with the situation in Virginia, having been there before, that there's a slight similarity with Coach Legacy. Is that you're familiar with the area, but now you were making inroads with the national team with guys like with Radsky at WNL and Yetzer down at Ferrum, but now all of a sudden they're guys you're coaching against.
They're the enemy now.
Yeah, so I mean, how much of that is going to be just tough to contend with?
I'm hoping it's as easy as what Scott said, but I think it's going to be really tough because you look at the pool of Division III coaches, and even Greensboro College, it's 40-something miles down the road. It's going to be really competitive, and you have a bunch of coaches that are really motivated. Between Greensboro and Ferrum, and then now myself, those are 3 Division I, coming from Division I, where and so motivated, and so it's going to be really tough. But that's the fun part about it. So I think that it's not going to be easy, but at the same time, it's what I've been doing. It's the Division I is highly competitive. You're out there recruiting against everybody, and so I think that part of it has helped train me towards the Division III. And then really, I'm just looking for a lot of sympathy from all those coaches and be like, oh, he's the new guy. We're going to, cut him some slack here and send kids his way. But, I'm not sure if it's going to work out that way, but that's what I'm looking for. And, hopefully, they're all real supportive, and, as I'll try to be supportive of them at times. But, at the end of the day, it's recruiting's recruiting. Whether you're at Division III, Division II, or Division I, or any other division out there. And so I think recruiting is recruiting. And, I'm excited for the fact that there's so many colleges opening up. And, it sounds like they're opening up more in that area, or, soon to, be adding more programs. And so that's fun, because we're adding opportunities for kids. And the more opportunities, I feel the more kids are going to be interested in wrestling in college. And it's just going to make it easier.
Yeah, Coach Legacy, what's your administration been like to work with on this? Of course, Tommy said there, it's nice to see we're adding programs. I think as wrestling people, we all love the fact that we can add a new program. I mean, there's NAIA programs adding left and right. There's junior colleges. There's Division III, Division II. We're still waiting for Division I's to kind of follow Fresno State's lead. But when you've got an administrator and an athletics director that comes in and they've hired you to run their program, what do you expect from the AD, and what do they expect from you?
Well, I can tell you, our administration has been awesome with a capital A, whether it be the athletic director or the dean of administration or even the president. Everything's been very, very supportive. They're excited about having wrestling on campus. They wanted it. We've been a growing university. We're up to 29 sports right now. So our athletic director, Deanna Tyson, has her phone line's been open all summer long to me, or email or whatever. I've had numerous questions. For me, the learning curve's been incredible. Transitioning from high school into college. Tommy's definitely had an advantage, being a college coach his whole entire career. As far as our AD, it's just simple what they're looking for. They're looking for your students to do well academically, to be well behaved on campus, not be a black eye, that type of thing, and just make the university proud. It's not all about winning. I haven't felt that type of stress. And they're overwhelmed with the amount of numbers and recruits that we've had on campus and stuff like that. As far as what I've been looking for is just that, that we are able to bring in numerous kids, and, wrestling affords us to allow a lot of athletes a chance, to participate through open tournaments and sometimes quads, being able to use one or two athletes, especially on the Division III level where redshirt is not as prominent, and even exhibition matches. So just ask them to allow me to allow kids to participate. That's the biggest thing I've been looking for. But we have a wrestling room. We have singlets. We have warm-ups. We have a team locker room, so everything's been going extremely well to this point.
Yeah, Tommy, in your conversations, your interview with the athletic director at Averett there, Meg Stevens, I mean, what was the big thing that impressed you? And so, you know what, I am going to take this job.
The wrestling is going to be a thing, just like all their athletic programs. To me, when I went out there, you could just tell that athletics was a thing, and it is something that they're using as their niche, and they want to be successful. And it wasn't I didn't go out there and feel like hey, they just want 30 kids on the team or 40 kids on the team. They really don't care about wrestling. It's Meg Stevens, she's really I was just shocked, when I met her, and just like, wow, this is a good thing here, and she's doing great by her programs, and it's all the coaches there seemed really happy, and that was the big thing for me, and I know when you're on an interview, it's, a little bit of, smoking mirrors here and there, and, everyone's going to be nice no matter what. And, but you could just tell that the vibe that she's created there was, was something special, and they're trying to do, good things for athletics. And, talking to the president, the one thing that they kept saying is like, wrestling has to work here. It wasn't like, oh, we're adding wrestling, you're going to get this, you're going to get this. It's like, wrestling has to work, and we want it to work, and we're going to, be really supportive. And I just, it's, it's just, I got it's hard to explain, but I just got the feeling that it was, they were, being honest about it. And, I feel when I get in there, it's, you're going to get nothing but support from, Meg and the college president. And, the college president, she was awesome. And, I had to, got to sit down and meet her when I went out there, and you could, they're really passionate about the college and the athletic programs. And, and I, feel that's one thing at the Division III is everyone's got to be on the same page and on the same team and support each other. And, and I got that feeling.
As we move towards the goals of a Division III wrestling coach in a Division III program, Scott, you've seen tremendous success as a high school coach. As we said, 28 straight state championships, and just you're used to winning. You're used to winning. You're used to being at the top of Vermont. You're used to being atop of the New England high school scene. There's going to be growing pains here, but what goals do you come in to year one with, and what goals are attainable in year one, and what are you looking at 3 and 5 years down the road? I mean, it's a tough region. Roger Williams has had up and down years, and they're kind of the team to beat right now up in New England. But first year goals, 3-year goals, 5-year goals. I mean, how good can this program be? How good can your program be?
I think that, my goal is to be as good as those programs and to be one of the top teams in the country. We got a little boost by, having some kids transfer in that have experience. Our freshman recruiting class is, extremely talented. So the first thing I want to do this year is beat someone we're not supposed to. And, at least on paper, that team's supposed to beat us. And I really feel we have the capability of doing that. And like you said, I am used to winning. But before all that winning was, when I took over Mount Anthony, the program, I only had 6 or 7 kids on my team the first year. So I think we were 6-8, 8-8. Actually, I know our records, 12-3-1, and then we took off from there. We were undefeated and went and started traveling to Ohio and all over the place. So, but I know the building process is going to be the same. I'm not expecting to jump out of the gate and knock off a Roger Williams right away. But I think that, we can be competitive, and you never know what can happen. I mean, on any given day, you can knock somebody off. But I do believe this year that we will beat somebody that we're not supposed to. And that can jumpstart the program. And then from there, just to maintain and retain our freshmen that we have and keep them motivated and, bring them back as sophomores and juniors and then into their senior year. But, just looking at my lineup, I think we're going to have, it looks like, four upperclassmen in the lineup, based on transfers. So that's not a bad thing to have leadership wise. And I'm sure Tommy will go out and try to do that too, or maybe it'll fall into place for him that way. But, with a first year program, you do have to have some kids that have already wrestled college and know the ropes and know how to be successful academic athletes, student athletes at the same time.
Yeah, Tommy, you don't have a year one goal because you're in year zero. So what's your year zero goal going into year one? Scott's talked about, getting guys that have college experience and kind of, using that the transfer role to bridge the gap there. Transfers, picking them up it's kind of early in the game for that. I mean, what are your year zero goals and what will ultimately be your goal as a Division III wrestling coach with your program?
That's a tough question, but I think, Scott said it perfectly. It'd be really great, throughout the year to, pick up a transfer or two. I mean, realistically going in next year, you're hoping to have, 20 plus freshmen on the team. And, as we all know, you can, you need leadership and you need someone that's been there. And, so if you can pick up a couple transfers, I'm really leaning on, on trying to get a couple transfers this year, whether they're transferring from the Division I level or from another college, and, just try, like you said, it's really early now. You're not going to find those things out. And so I think, right now it's just getting the word out and making the relationships to try to, build, go get those seniors that are looking to wrestle in college. And I mean, ultimately I'm a highly competitive person. My goal has always been to win a national title, or, and that's what you work for. And I feel if that is your goal, then you're going to do all the right things to get there. Because, if you set the bar really, really high, it is so hard to accomplish success. And, you look at, Scott's success as a high school coach, he's not going to have, in my opinion, he's not going to have to change anything at the college level. It's, success is done by doing the right things and being stern in your decisions, and, and following your gut and just laying the line and just like, this is how I'm going to get there, and you stick to it. And I think it's the same thing at the Division III level. Now, whether it, you look at programs that are having success in the, the Warburgs and the Augsburgs, and there's a lot of other schools getting there, but they have a tremendous amount of resources. And, so it's a matter of finding your niche and seeing how you can be successful with it. But, I'd be lying to you if I told you my goal wasn't to win a national championship as a team. And, so to get there, it takes a lot of little steps. And year one goal is just, get kids on the team, and, then you go from there.
Been talking with Scott Legacy, new head coach at Castleton University in Vermont, and Tommy Owen, new head coach at Averett University in Virginia. As we wrap up this episode of the Ice Hour, you can find more about Coach Legacy's team at castletonsports.com and check out the Cougars at averettcougars.com. So, Coach Legacy, going to give you your final thoughts and what to expect this year. You said you were going to beat a team that you're not supposed to beat, but just maybe give us a little nugget of knowledge that you haven't discussed that's something to watch this year from your program.
Well, my high school teams were always in great shape, and right from the start of the season to the middle of the season, and especially at the end. And Tommy mentioned not changing much. I know it's a different grind, and there's some breaks with Division III, around Thanksgiving and Christmas time and stuff like that. But basically, we're going to be a team that is going to be coming at you. We're still going to be around in the third period. Our kids are going to be right there in your face and competing. So I think most of the people know that you're going to have to wrestle 7 minutes plus to beat a Castleton wrestler. And we're going to get someone at the national tournament this year. And I really believe that we got a chance to get a couple of guys on the podium and put Castleton on the map that way right away. And I'm not going out on a limb saying this. I firmly believe it. And I've told the kids that. And basically I've told them if they don't believe it, they're in the wrong wrestling room. So, they might want to find a different place to be. But if all 34 are coming in and doing that, we're going to be good. You're only as good as the wrestler beneath you and above you, and they got to push each other that way. And so far, so good. They've been very supportive. They're policing each other, and I don't expect anything less. I mean, otherwise, you're probably not going to make it on my team. You got to want to have passion. You got to want to still be coachable, and you got to be willing to work hard. And I'm not looking for the kid that's just a gamer. I'm not into coaching that kind of kid that can cruise through practice and, wrestle well in a match. I don't see that kid being real productive outside of the wrestling room or in the community later on in life. So I take a lot of gratification in developing people, and I still think that can be done on the Division III level. And we're going to have gas tanks. So people should watch out for that.
All right, Tommy, no S. You get the last word here.
That's right, no S. I just, thank you for having me on the show. And, Scott, good luck. It sounds like you're doing an awesome job so far. And, look forward to competing against you. And, final thoughts is, I'm excited about this. I can't be more thankful and happy and proud to, be able to take over Division III program. And, hopefully, Mike Moyer and the powers that be in wrestling keep adding wrestling programs. And, one of the, probably the main reason I, accepted this job is because I felt I could do more for wrestling at the Division III level than I can, at my current position. I love being a Division I coach. Don't get me wrong. I'm probably going to miss it every day. But at the end of the day, I'm just a fan of wrestling, and, I'm excited to be a part of, a brand new program and do it the way that I want. And, we're going to have a lot of fun there. And that's just, I could leave it at that. The people that are going to, hopefully, and, the way that I have it drawn up in my head, that when, the kids that are going to come to Averett University, we're going to have a great time. We're going to do something special. And, and I look forward to it. And I guess last thing I'll say is I listened to your, the podcast last night with Nate Coburn, and heard him talk about Fargo. And so I think we can work a deal out as long as they're still flying and, not staying in the dorms. So I'm expensive. So we'll see what he's got for me.
On that note,
I gave up that dorm thing a long time ago.
I don't know about you guys. I'm still staying in the dorms, man. All right, so for Tommy, Owen, Scott Legacy, this has been episode 14 of the Ice Hour D3 Wrestling Podcast. Special thanks to, again, our sponsor, and Tim Payne of My House Sports Gear at myhousesportsgear.com.
Is part of the Matt Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, head over to MattTalkOnline.com.